In 49 states, it's just basketball, but this is Indiana. Our two star players, Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam, put our team on their backs, and they just decided that we were not going to lose this game today.
And that MVP is Pascal Siakam.
First of all, shout out Indy, man. It's been such an amazing experience for me so far. From the first day I landed here, like the love has been amazing. Chad, KP, just unbelievable, man. Like, you know, first class organization.
And then tonight, sometimes the unexpected happens. And sometimes Thomas Bryant catches fire from deep.
Yeah, Thomas, yeah!
You're not going to have to worry about any questions about the team trying harder than you did tonight, because it was obvious, man. You guys did a great job. Congratulations. Look, you are the longest tenured member of this team. 10 seasons wearing this uniform. And now you're going to the NBA Finals, man. Tell me what that does for you.
Woo, man, it's been a long time coming, man. Come on. Man, first of all, man, I got to give a huge shout out to the Simons, man. They never stopped believing in me. This front office, this organization is amazing. I've spent a third of my life here, man. It's crazy. You know, I've really grown up here with y'all. And it's so validating just to get this in this fashion against one of our rivals 25 years later. And I'm just excited for what's next, man. We got 4 more.
But for the first time in 25 years, they are going to the NBA Finals.
Hello, Pacers fans, and welcome back to the Pacers Fever Show, your home for all things blue and gold. And today we are talking about a huge Game 6 of the NBA Finals. The Pacers staring down elimination. The Thunder lead this series 3-2 and come into Gainbridge Fieldhouse looking to close it out and lift the Larry O'Brien Trophy right here on Indiana's home floor. But the Pacers aren't done just yet. The big question looming over everything in Game 6 is, will they have Tyrese Haliburton for this crucial elimination game? The engine of this team is battling a calf strain, and his status for tomorrow's game is uncertain. Can the rest of the squad rise up and rally without their floor general, or will Haliburton gut it out and help push this series to a decisive Game 7? We're breaking down everything you need to know ahead of this must-win showdown, from matchups to adjustments to mindset. Can Indiana force one more trip to OKC, or will the confetti fall in Gainbridge Fieldhouse tomorrow night for the wrong team? We've got an action-packed show, and it all starts now, so let's get into it. The number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder versus the number 4 seed Indiana Pacers. The Thunder win Game 5, 120-109, and the Pacers will now have to win 2 straight to win their first NBA title, and that's all going to happen Thursday night, at least the start of it, June 19th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. The Thunder will visit Indiana, and Game 7, if necessary, will be Pacers at Thunder in Paycom Arena. I think it's called Paycom Center, actually. It's Sunday, June 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. The Pacers are just looking ahead 1 game at a time, and they're hoping that Game 6 can even out this series and send it back to a Game 7 where anything and everything is possible. We've seen the Pacers in Game 7s, and we've seen how they've risen to that challenge and they were able to knock off the New York Knicks last season after trailing 2-0 in that series. The Pacers will look to do it again after trailing 3-2 in this series to at least try to extend it and see what happens in Game 7. The pressure will be rising in that game, and I think that the Pacers will have a slight advantage having played in a very hostile environment before as far as Game 7 is concerned. I wouldn't say advantage as far as winning it, but advantage in the fact that the Pacers have played in a little bit more of a hostile situation than the Thunder as far as this core group is concerned. I'd still give the edge to the Thunder. Obviously, they are the better team, it seems, at least through the first 5 games of this series. Their defense has just come to play and have done things to this Pacer team that I think a lot of people thought wasn't possible if you were a Pacers fan. I mean, we felt like we had a really good chance because we take care of the basketball, but the Pacers, I think they are the first team in NBA history to have 2 games of plus 20 turnovers, which has been their death sentence pretty much in this series. I mean, they escaped game one with having turned the ball over 19 times in the first half. They win that game, and they push that to a 1-0 series lead to kick off this NBA Finals. But the Pacers, again, in game five, 20 plus turnovers, and fought their way all the way back into that game, had a chance in the fourth quarter to take the lead or tie it, and then squander that chance. And the Thunder go on quite a run to end that game. We're going to quickly recap game five, react to what exactly happened in that game, and talk about this winner go home game, game six, coming up on Thursday night. Again, that's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. Initial reactions to game five. So it looked a lot like game one to start the game. They had tons of turnovers. I would say that the Pacers didn't look as anxious as they were in game one. Game five, you're used to the series by then. You're used to that environment. It's still a crazy environment, so I still think it takes at least a couple minutes to get adjusted to that. And the Pacers came out and competitive pretty early on, but as the first quarter went on, it just became more and more about what the Thunder were doing well and what the Pacers just could not do offensively. That defense becomes a whole different monster when you're talking about OKC and just that historic way in which they've played, to be able to turn teams over like they have in the postseason and the regular season. It's why they've won 80 plus games with the regular season and postseason combined. It's why they'll be considered and in the conversations of one of the best teams in NBA history if they go down and win this game or win game seven and win their first NBA title as a franchise. They will be discussed as one of the most historic teams to have ever done it in a regular season and a postseason, because they have been historic in so many different ways, and they look to close out Indy on Thursday, which would be awful. It would be on our home floor, watching a team raise the championship trophy on our home floor, our home crowd somewhat still there. I think it would just be devastating for so many. It's hard because as we've started to talk more and more about the possibility of the Pacers losing this series after being up 2-1 and having a really good chance to go up 3-1 in game four, it feels like the Pacers had their chance to win this series, and now it's OKC's to fumble away at this point. I mean, that's basically what it's come down to. To have two games coming up where you can clinch an NBA title, that's a lot of pressure to put on the Thunder, but it's also the pressure that you want if you want to be a championship level player and team. And that's what the OKC Thunder have been throughout the regular season and throughout the postseason. They've been the title contenders that we thought that they might be at the beginning of the season. They have gotten the experience that they've needed. I think they're battle tested now to the point where they don't seem afraid of too many of the moments. I think that game four was a true test of their character, and they got through that and passed with flying colors on how they closed out game four. And then game five, they did exactly what you'd expect them to do. I think there's some things to take away from game five's win that I think give at least a little bit of life to Indiana and the way that they're going to play in game six. But there's also a huge concern on one aspect of things that pretty much could change how game six is going to go, and that's Tyrese Haliburton's calf. So let's talk about first the negative side of this, because I think it's important to talk about in this section, but we'll also discuss Tyrese a little bit more later on in this episode. Tyrese Haliburton in the first quarter goes down, calf injury, calf strain, as he was driving into the paint. It's like he misstepped or he lunged too far, and I think just because of the way that he landed with that right calf and that right foot, it looked like it just strained it because of how far he stepped out and the foot just kept going. Not that he slipped, but it did look like he had a hard time planting it. And when he did, that's when he came up rubbing that calf and shin area, which is never a good sign, especially because of the history that we've seen with those calf injuries, and the fact that he had been talking about how it was the ankle at first, like the ankle felt like it was, what do they call it? The ankle was compromised. That's what I was going for early on in this season, this series. and now it's moved into issues with a calf. And then, I mean, that pretty much screams what you would really not like to happen, and that's an Achilles injury. And I think that's the biggest concern with Indiana is, with calf strains. If calf strains were just calf strains and that's all they were ever going to be, and you play through them, then that's fine. But because of what it compromises around the ankle area and the Achilles, that's the big concern, as he's going to be a player that relies heavily on pushing off on that calf. And his jump shot's not really a jump shot so much, but he does. And when he's most effective, he's getting to the paint, he's distributing the basketball, he's jumping up and down, making those passes. And the more and more that you put strain on that calf muscle, I think the weaker it gets or the more compromised it gets. And then you start to favor it a little bit. And that can cause so many more issues to that lower leg. And, what could be a couple of games missed. I know it's awful timing because it's the NBA Finals and you're down 3-2 in this series and you're 2 wins away from an NBA championship. It's tough to sit somebody down. That is the heartbeat of this team. That's been their floor general. He's their star point guard. He's what makes this offense go. This team's not really the same without him. It's tough to make that decision because you've worked your whole life to get to this point. And that's what he said. He's talked about the fact that he has worked tirelessly for years. He's been doubted for years. He gets his way through college, wasn't a real sought after player in high school, gets to college, performs well there, gets drafted in the NBA, lives out that dream, moves over to Indiana out of Sacramento after being traded. And then they start to put together this team around Tyrese. It's his team. He propels this team out of dark times and into a very competitive basketball team. They go out and acquire Pascal Siakam to become a championship level team. Get to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, get swept, but he's out injured after, I think it was game 2 of that series. And from that point on, this team they've talked about how they are a championship level team, and they prove it this year. They run through really good teams in the Eastern Conference. They knock off the number 1 seed, the number 3 seed, and now they're playing the number 1 seed. Had a 2-1 advantage going into game 4 of the NBA Finals. And then he goes, they go cold in that game 4. They lose that game 2-2, tied up. Series not over, going back to Oklahoma City. And then in the first quarter, that's when that calf injury occurs, and he's just not the same since then. And he's not really been himself, I guess, throughout the series. A lot of that's because of Lou Dort and Caruso in the defense that Oklahoma City has employed on or deployed on Tyrese. But, you do wonder how much of that impacted his play throughout the series. And I guess we'll not know that until after this is over. And, you might not ever be able to really tell just how much this has hurt Tyrese in his games that he's tried to play. And throughout the Knicks series, he looked good towards the end. So I'm thinking that, game 2, I think it was, is when we started to notice that limp that he had, and it was just not a good limp. And then he was talking about the ankle being an issue. Now it's the calf, and it's just so many things piling up that you really do not want to see, because again, 2 games is 2 games. You miss it. If you end up not winning a title, that's awful. I mean, it's horrible. You worked so hard for this. Your fans have waited for so long for this. But again, we'd much rather have Tyrese Haliburton at 100% going forward throughout his career, not jeopardizing it on a game, a game 6 where, I don't like our chances in this series. I don't think that it's going to end the way that we really want this to. I mean, just being honest, I have a hard time seeing them going into OKC to even win a game 7 because of how well OKC plays at home and the way that the Pacers have handled that. Crazy things have happened. Pacers could still somewhat do this, I think, but I think that you're really leaning now towards a Thunder title, and it sucks because 100% healthy. Now we're having conversations of just push this to game 7 and see what happens, and we'll be happy with that. Now it's like, not only that, you've got to add in the fact that, man, do we even try to play Tyrese Haliburton? Do the coaching staff make the decision to say, hey, Tyrese, like, you're not going? because earlier today they had media day. I think it was like right around 12:30 is when they became available to the media, the Pacers, and they talked to Tyrese. They talked to Rick. Rick was on 1070 The Fan with JB and um, and Kevin Bowen today, and they were talking about um, just his availability. And Rick said that he's definitely dealing with something. He confirmed it was the calf, and he said that it would be a game time decision and that we would know more tomorrow as the game approaches. And then about 2 or 3 hours later, uh, he went on the he had a press conference today during media day. Rick did, and he elaborated a little bit more where he said that it is a calf strain that they're dealing with, and that he wants to make that decision tomorrow on how Tyrese feels, and talk to Tyrese and consult with the doctors, the medical staff, on how they think Tyrese can play in this game or not play in this game. And then they also interviewed Tyrese, and Tyrese said exactly what you'd expect any basketball player to say at this point: is he plans to play. He wants to play. This is what he's dreamed of. He doesn't want to go out like this, and it's the coach's decision. And he's done all that he can do, and he's talked about that. He's done all he can do. He went through practice day. He went through shoot around. They said it was more of a light shoot around kind of practice and walk through. He goes through all of that stuff today, moving pretty well. Like, I mean, for a light walk or like walk through, I mean, you don't really notice him sprinting a whole bunch, but I mean, he's moving somewhat lateral movement and getting shots up. And his jump shot, like I said, he doesn't really get a lot of lift on his jump shot anyway, so it's kind of hard to tell how he's feeling. But again, it's such a tough spot to be in after game 5. So let's talk about game 5, and then we'll get back to Tyrese. But ultimately, again, it started just like game 1, where turnovers, big lead for OKC as the quarter goes on. And then by the end of the first half, it had that feel of, man, the Pacers are just not playing to the level they need to play to stay with this team. They went down by 14 in the first half. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, I didn't feel good about their chances at the end of the first half. Don't get me wrong when I say this, but it was weird that OKC was only up by 14. It felt like they were up by like 25, the way that the Pacers had played. So you kind of had that going for us, where you're like, okay, like this should have been a blowout, but they're only up 14. We've seen crazier things happen, right? It was more of that kind of feeling. And then the Pacers come out in the third quarter, and that's when TJ McConnell happens. The Pacers beat the Thunder in the third quarter 34-28. And so they cut that deficit down to 8. There was a point in the third quarter, I think it got down to 6 or 4. And then the Thunder had a good closeout to the third. I thought that was really important. I think Jalen Williams ends up scoring right at the end of the third, and they push it back up to 8 because the Pacers were there. They were hanging there, and they hung around all game. Like, it never got really above 14-16. And I think at one point the largest lead was 18, but they cut it down pretty quickly after that, down to like 12. So again, the Pacers have this uncanny ability to stick around in games where they really didn't deserve to be in this game at all, but they were. And that's something that speaks to this character of this team and their resiliency. And I think that's something that you carry on throughout this competitive window that you have with this specific core of players, is that they just don't have a will to lay down. And that's great. That's all you ask for as a fan, even in games where you don't have it. And they didn't have it in game 5, but they fought and fought. And then eventually in the third quarter, they get it all the way down to a 2-point deficit. And with momentum, I mean, you could feel in the third, end of the third, beginning of the fourth, you could feel the energy in that building that is so electric. You could just feel it zapped right out of the air. And it did. Pascal had a breakaway. I think that it was a dunk that put them back down by 6 because the Thunder get up by 8. Like, there were certain moments throughout the fourth quarter where the Pacers would go on these runs, and then they got it down to 2. It was 95-93 at one point. And you could feel the nervous energy because you knew what this game meant. This is exactly what I mean, Shea would have come out and said it had they lost this game. You knew what that moment meant, right? If the Pacers are able to storm back and then grab the lead and then win it, the Pacers are now going back home 3-2 with a really good chance. All they have to do is win on their home floor. And the Thunder would then have to win 2 straight games to try to beat the Pacers. And you could feel, like, you could just tell that this crowd was like, not again. Like, here this team comes again, ready to do the improbable, because they've looked awful all game until TJ McConnell all of a sudden has one of his best games he's ever played as a Pacer. All of a sudden, he just burst into the game and makes a difference and scores 13 and a quarter, I think it was. And you just look at it and went, geez, like, they're going to do this again, aren't they? Like, there was that feeling. People were tweeting it on Twitter, like they were on X. They're like, oh, it's happening. Like, here they come. It's going to happen again. Pascal Siakam has a really good second half, and into the fourth quarter, he's playing well, and TJ's doing his stuff. He's at 18 points, and they whittled away that 18-point deficit. And the Thunder were, I mean, they were there. They were on the brink of letting this team back in it. And I think if the Pacers if they even the game out or they get the lead, I think the Thunder, the way they had been playing, I think you could have really taken over this game. But right at that mark, that's when the turnovers start again. I think it was like an Obi Toppin steal. He turns it over eventually. There's some missed free throws. There's some turnovers by Andrew Nembhard, who's been questionable in this series at best. And it fizzled quickly, and they were back down by 8 to 10 points within a matter of like a minute. So that's when the Thunder take control of the game. And then at the end of the game, they just close out the Pacers. And really, I mean, this was a team that was on the brink of letting this Pacer team back into it, but it was ultimately the Thunder's defense. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to in that game, and ultimately what it came down to in every single game that the Pacers have lost. It's been that Thunder's defense. It's not really been the offense as much. I mean, you could say that in game 4, that offense came alive in the fourth, but the Pacers' offense was just so bad. All the Pacers had to do was play somewhat on par with the Thunder in that fourth quarter, and they would win that game because they had a 10-point lead. It wasn't really the defense. I mean, somewhat, but like the Pacers just had nothing creating, and they didn't have anything going. They weren't creating anything in game 4, and it felt that similar kind of way in game 5, where and like I said, this Thunder team, and we'll talk about it, this Thunder team is a totally different team when given the chance to play on their home floor, especially defensively. Offensively, I mean, honestly, if you look at complete overall offense, the Pacers' offense has actually, I think, looked better than the Thunder's offense. And the Thunder play a type of offense that's just not aesthetic. It's very ISO heavy with SGA and Jalen Williams. And they rely heavily on them to be able to create their shots and create shots for others by taking them on the dribble. And so it's not, the Pacers are a pass screening, bunch of cutting and actions. The Thunder are really just a lot of dribble, pick, screen, and then maybe cut. Like, it's not a whole lot of, there's not a lot of dimension to their offense. It's a lot of just, hey, SGA and Jalen, go get us some points. And that's ultimately what it's turned into. And Jalen Williams had his best game of his postseason, probably the best game of his career in this one. And it was too much for the Pacers. It was the contributions that they got from SGA and J-Dub were the best that they've had probably in their career. J-Dub had 40 points on 14 of 25 shooting. He was 56% from the field. He was 3 for 5 from the three-point line. He had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. He played hellacious defense and just was an excellent and much needed infusion into OKC's offense, because they need big games out of him or Chet to really do damage to this Pacers team. And they got it. And then they got great production from some of their role players that hit timely shots. I mean, Lou Dort had 9 points off of three-pointers. The things about hit the top of the ceiling when he shoots them, and you're like, there's no way that's going. And then it goes in, and he's hit so many great shots in the clutch that it's just been like the guy that's been the worst three-point shooter on their team in the season is coming up with some of the big three-pointers that he's ever hit in his life. And he's been an absolute terror on defense. I mean, Tasmanian devil, like where sometimes I think he fouls people quite a bit, but they don't call it because he's got this reputation of being a great defender. He's strong, he's very athletic, he's quick, and he gets away with a lot. I mean, I'm not saying that that's changed the series, but they allow him to do it because he's gotten so good at it, and that's why he's an elite defender, is because of the things he can do. He had 8 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block. The dude's a menace on the field, or sorry, on the court. He looks like he could be on the field, a football field. Maybe that's what he should do. He should go play football, see if he can be good there, and leave us alone. And then Alex Caruso, he didn't shoot it well at all. He's 1 of 8, 0 for 3 from 3. Like, I felt like Caruso was due for one of those games because he's had 2 20-point games, which he's never done in the regular season, at least this season. And so he was awful from the field, but they just got good pick-me-ups from everybody else. Aaron Wiggins, again, shot the lights out. So did Cason Wallace. Cason Wallace, who hadn't hit a three-pointer since, like, Christmas, it felt like. He hits 3, and it was just like a perfect recipe for disaster. And you expect this from role players. You expect this on their home floor, but not to this level. I mean, it just felt like every time that they got an open 3, it was like, oh, no, not again. They ended up shooting 43.8% from 3, which is, I think, the best they've shot at this series, and one of the best shooting performances they've had all postseason, I want to say. Like, this is not a great 3-point shooting team, and they shot it well in game 5. So that was a big difference on at least extending their lead back into the fourth quarter, and ultimately putting the Pacers away was just their shot making abilities, and nobody can stop Jay. Like, the Pacers have not had a single answer for anything Jalen Williams is doing when Jalen Williams has gotten going. He's a nightmare to guard. I mean, Rick compared him to Giannis today when I was listening to the show. He said that his ability to get downhill and get to the rack, there's not really much you can do except just try to throw bodies at him and make it more difficult. And he's right. I mean, it feels like the Pacers have had such a hard time staying in front of him. He's so strong. He's so quick. He's got great spurt ability. He's good at stopping on a dime and hitting, pull-ups. And, like, what a 2-star he will be in this league. And, I think he's obviously quicker, and I think, laterally gets the rim better than Jaylen Brown does. But I would say they're pretty similar in the fact that they're both stronger than Oxes and just have this ability to score in really crucial moments, and also just with ease. I mean, they make it look so easy. When Jaylen Brown's healthy for the Celtics, like, it's kind of like this with Jalen Williams. It's just this ease of scoring, and it's scary. And that's what the Pacers have been up against, and they've not had to stop. I mean, Aaron Nesmith is a good defender. And I don't know if Aaron's completely healthy because of the ankle. I just feel like he's never gotten back to 100% since that. And he's not really playing that many minutes. He's getting in foul trouble. He gets in foul trouble a lot with Jalen Williams because he just has a hard time staying in front of him. He's so much quicker. And I think he's stronger than Aaron Nesmith, a brick. But Jalen Williams, man, he's been great. If without him, I mean, I think this is a Pacers advantage, but he's been phenomenal. I mean, they'll give SGA the MVP if the Thunder win it. But Jalen Williams, I think the last couple of games that he's played, he's deserved it more. So Shea had 31 points on 10 assists, and that's the other thing. He had no assist in game 4. Game 5, he turned into exactly what you fear. He turned into a scorer, and then when he was getting stopped, he was hitting guys for open threes, and Jalen Williams, and gosh, like, Shea was really good in this game. And I think he didn't shoot the ball real well. That's why I think it didn't feel like he had 31 points, but he gets to 31. He shot a ton of free throws in this game as well. And 13 of 14 from the free throw line. And then Jalen was 9 of 12 from the free throw line. So they just lived at the free throw line, and they don't really miss their free throws. I mean, those two are very good foul shooters. And honestly, like, if Jalen's playing like that, this is probably the number 1 duo in the league without question. I mean, this is a scary team when those two are doing this. So to get 71 points from those two alone was ultimately the coffin for the Pacers. The nail was more of just the guys around him hitting shots when those two weren't. So again, the Pacers just ran up against a buzzsaw of a team, and They had a chance to go 3-1. And now you look back at that, and I know Pacer fans will look back at that for a very long time, depending on how the series goes, and say that we had that chance, and that's the best chance we've ever had as a franchise. And it's true. That's the first time we've ever had the lead in the NBA Finals. It's the first time we had a chance to go 3-1 in the NBA Finals. It's easily been the best season that any Indiana Pacers team has ever had. So it's tough to watch it go down as it's going down. I mean, it's like watching a ship sink, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's been tough, right? It's been tough. And I think it's something that I've been able to come to grips with more and more. And in game 6 is like, let's just see what we got. See if we can go out swinging, right? At least get us to game 7, because crazy things happen in game 7. And while I wouldn't expect us to win a game 7 in their floor, at least make it fun, right? Like, just get us back there. Have one of those electric performances in game 6 where just guys are hitting shots and just show you don't want to go home. I think we're due for one more Pacers punch, like big punch. I think we're due for this team. Again, if I had to pick a team to not go out quietly, it would be this team. Like, this is the one team in the NBA that if I said which team is going to go down fighting the most, and I'm trying not to be as biased as possible, but like, I feel like the Pacers, like, this is a team that even without Tyrese would go down like a big time heavyweight boxer, like just throwing punches as he's going down, trying to land something, right? And they were that way last year too, against Boston. And I know, completely different animal as far as defense is concerned. And Boston was a really good defense last year, but the Pacers they don't go quietly. They don't like to go quietly. Even in that game, they didn't like to go quietly in that one, in game 5. And they somehow almost pulled that one off when they really didn't deserve to be in that game at all. Looking on the Pacers side, Aaron Nesmith, 14 points, was much better offensively than he's been the last couple of games. 14 points. He did rebound the ball well, 6 rebounds. The biggest thing with him, though, was just defensively. There was no stop for Jalen Williams. Pascal Siakam, best game of the series, I believe, from him. 9 of 15 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. 7 of 8 from the free throw line. He shot 87%. That's really good for Pascal. He had 5 assists, 6 boards. He had 28 points. The big thing with him was he turned the ball over a lot, 6 times. But they also did give him the ball a lot more. Like, he became a point guard at some points. Like, he became the guy dribbling the ball up the floor as Tyrese went down and was just not able to orchestrate the offense. They gave the ball to their best ISO player in Pascal, outside of probably Mathurin. And he ultimately led him. I mean, he tried. Miles Turner, best offensive game I think he's had in a long time. 13 points. He had 6 boards. He was 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and shot 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Nembhard, 7 points. I thought played one of his worst games that he's played in the postseason. Turned the ball over 4 times. He only had 3 assists, 3 rebounds. He was only 3 of 8 from the field, no of 2 from 3. And then Tyrese, 0 field goals made on 0 of 6 shooting, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, had 4 points. And really, I mean, he just didn't look himself after that calf injury, which makes me worried about, even if he does play in game 6, I'm not even sure what he can really provide at that point. Obi Toppin, 12 points. He played pretty well. Didn't shoot the 3 as well, but did hit some really crucial baskets down the stretch. 5 of 11 from the field, 45%. And I thought was part of the reason they stayed in it and got back into the game. TJ McConnell, easily the second best player on the team on, what was that, Monday night? Was that Monday night? I can't even remember what days we're on anymore. Monday night, I believe it was. Yeah. He had 18 points on 8 of 14 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3. And then Mathurin, 2 of 11, did not have a good offensive game, but did have 7 points, got to the free throw line. And Tony Bradley made an appearance. He had some decent moments, but then some moments that were not so good. But he played 12 minutes. A lot of people had problems with it. Honestly, like, I don't think it really changed too much. I actually think it helped in some points in the game. I thought it helped more than it hurt. So I don't know. The Pacers were just out of options at that point, and you had injuries, and they were just trying to find answers. I think Johnny Furphy had 2 points in this game. Took it on Shea. This was late in the game, garbage time. He scored in the last 2 minutes that he played. He scored 2 points. Johnny's going to be good. It's just a matter of like when. Like he's still very young. I think he's 19, maybe 20 now, but he's a couple years away from contributing big time, I think. But he's going to be a good basketball player. Just having watched him play early in the season, he got quite a bit of run because they were just trying to find answers because everybody was hurt. I think he's going to be a really good basketball player. He's mean. He doesn't seem to be affected by any of the moments. Like early in the season, I watched him play here in Orlando, where I live. They played against the Magic, and it was a tight game late in the game, and he was playing, and he was unfazed. I mean, the dude is he'll make mistakes because he's young, but he is not fazed by anything that's going on. Like he just wants to play basketball, and he'll compete. So I'm excited to see what they've got with him. Like if they're going to make some trades this off season, then that reminds me, there was a trade made by the Pacers already during the NBA Finals, which is wild. So we'll talk about that here at the end. But Johnny Furphy, I mean, I hope that they keep him around because I feel like he's going to be a key contributor coming up on an NBA team. I just hope it's with the Pacers. So as far as Game 5, I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to talk about. Turnovers and injuries, the biggest concern coming out of Game 5 and going into a win or go home situation. So the Pacers have 2 games that they have to win an NBA title. If they lose, they go home. And the offseason starts officially. Draft coming up right around the corner. We'll cover the draft some, but the Pacers got rid of their pick. Let's talk about that now. The Pacers trade their number 1 pick this year. I think it was the 23rd overall, their first round pick. Pacers don't have any room. They had to get rid of it. I think they said they save upwards of $3 million, almost $4 million. So it helps with the tax before the tax apron. I think that Bobby Marks tweeted that they're 20 plus or like right around $20 million below that first apron, but they'll have to re-sign Miles Turner. So they'll get into the apron. But that being said, it does sound like the Pacers are willing to hang out in that first apron. So they're liable to make some moves. Depending on how this goes, if the Pacers even won this, I could see the Pacers. I think the way that Pritchard and Buchanan and them have aligned their picks, they traded their first round pick in this year's draft to New Orleans for their pick. I think it was 2026. That first round pick, they get their own pick back basically that they traded for Pascal. So they just reloaded on first round picks and future first round picks so they can trade them. And so now they can package a bunch of first round picks with anybody on this team and make themselves better. And I think that's the direction it seems to be going. I think the Pacers know that there's going to have to be some consolidation at some point with this team, and they want to keep this championship core together, like this group that's made the finals together as much as possible. But that being said, you don't just go out and acquire your first round pick for no reason. Like they don't have any room to add them in the next couple of seasons anyway, like with the way that their books are going to look. So the contracts don't really suggest that they're going to go out and draft anybody. So that means that there's definitely a trade coming. And, I think we'll do an episode probably shortly after the finals ends about it'll probably be before the draft, because I imagine they'll get moving pretty quick. I mean, guys, we're almost into July. We'll almost be into July. And then August, I think, starts like the training camps and stuff like that. And then September, you start to get into like real train. Like I think it's like the rookie ball. I think they play like those. What do they call those? The summer league. What do they call that thing now? They've got different names for different things now, but it's the summer league. It's when the rookies and all the young players play in an exhibition, I think in Vegas now. They'll do that, I think, in August. And then maybe even July. I think it's into July, maybe into August. And then September, they start to get their teams all back together. Like guys start to get into their preseason stuff with like they'll have workouts where, the head coaches in them they can't be involved, but like the players will start having their off-season camps and like it's crazy. Like when you make a finals run like this, you're into the draft next week. And then after that, you start going into summer, like summer camps and scouting. And then it's crazy like how quickly this turns around when you make an NBA final. So yeah, Pacers make a big move. I think people will go, "Oh, it's just 2 draft picks being." I think it's a lot more than that. I think that trade was very intentional. KP is very intentional about things that he does, and I think that there are some things that we'll talk about. What we'll do is we'll have a final recap of whatever happens, whether it's Pacers lose Game 6, Pacers lose Game 7, or Pacers win Game 7. We'll have like a recap, and then if there were something to talk about after a possible Pacers win, like championship win, we'll do that. We'll kind of do a recap, like kind of an exit, not like our own exit interview where we talk about each of the players and what went right, what went wrong, kind of thing. And then we'll do a bunch of other content in the summer as well. But we'll I think what we're gonna, since we won't really have anything to talk about in the draft, we will talk about instead more of like what can the Pacers do, some possible trade connections that they might be able to make, talk about some players that I think the Pacers might have on like a short list. And then maybe we can see if we can get people on here over the summer to talk about the Pacers and stuff. So we'll see. A lot of good stuff coming for the off season. And we'll try to spread those episodes out some and give people time to listen to them. But I've got some exciting things planned for whatever may happen after this. I know I don't want to get too hard ahead of ourselves. We're still in the NBA Finals. We still got a really important Game 6 ahead of us, and we're not completely out of this. Not by any stretch. And if I had, again, like I said, if I had one team that I would bet on not to go down, or at least go down with a fight, it would be this team. So back to Tyrese Haliburton. Again, they had media day today. He wants to play. It just becomes such a hard thing, right? Because here as a fan, I think we get it. Like when we're sitting here, if I asked you, the fan, right now, would you start Tyrese Haliburton, knowing what you know about his calf, knowing that if something goes wrong with his Achilles, he's out next year and maybe more, and then maybe is never the same again? What do you do? It's such a it's his body, it's his choice, it's his life. Like he's got to decide ultimately what's best for him. And if the medical staff says it's fine and he goes out there and he's fine, then that's good. If he goes out there and gets hurt, then we're all going to be blaming the staff and the front. Like, it's kind of a lose-lose at this point. And I think just of how he's not been as effective in this series, right? So while it is going to be missing your star player, it's, he's just not looked the same since that ankle injury early on in the series. And you wonder how much of that impacts him. And then obviously Lou Dort's a nightmare. Do you really want him going up against this defense where he's going to be in a lot of tough situations, putting a lot of stress on that right calf? I just don't know if the risk is worth it. If it really, again, I hate speaking on this stuff because it's always the same opinions. It's always like, well, he should play, he's a star, or he should sit out. Doesn't he know the risk? And ultimately it comes down to the player. It comes down to the human being. It comes down to trusting him, and whatever happens. It's his decision. It's his life. And, we just want to support him in any way possible. And it's tough as a fan because we're not the ones in the situation whose career could be on the line, whose livelihood's on the line, whose reputation and his ability. There's so much to go into this. Like, I've played sports before. I've wanted to play hurt. Like, it sucks sitting out watching your team play, especially in really good games like this. It's not a fun situation. It's not. I just hope nothing happens that's bad if he does decide to play. Like, I just hope all things go well. Like, even if he doesn't play well, I just hope he stays healthy. I don't want him to get hurt. He is such a vital part to this franchise and the success this team will have. Because if he goes down hurt for next year too, I just don't know. Like, the team, I think the team would still be a playoff team, but not a team that could do anything. I don't even want to play with that situation. And it's what's so tough about this. And I know he'll decide, and he's a competitor, and he's going to want to play. From what it sounds like earlier today, what it comes down to is Tyrese, he's going to want to play. He's going to be saying, no, I'm good. We're playing. It's going to be the coaching staff, Rick, and the medical staff going, no, like, you're not playing. We're not risking this. I get it. Like, you want to play, and you're going to hate me for months, but like, this point. I'm just looking out for the best of you. And ultimately, it'll come back to Tyrese. Tyrese is a good human. He will understand eventually that it was just for the best of him if they do decide to sit him. I just, this is such a tough spot. I mean, I don't like this at all. Gosh, I wish the conversation was more about, man, can we just figure out game 6? Like, I wish that was the only conversation we were having. But today, we're just having the one conversation. It's Tyrese Haliburton's calf, and that's all it's been. And I'm sure he's tired of hearing it, and I'm sure they just want to get out there and play and compete. But again, like I said, his teammates have been so good at picking up the slack at times. And while I know a lot of people will go, well, they're like a lottery record without him. Yeah, but also you got to think about the makeup of this team. This team is not made up of guys that just will roll over. This team is a team of fighters, dogs. They are relentless. They are resilient. They will fight until the death. They play 48 minutes for a reason. So you're not going to get this team to fall flat. And if I want to give them a chance, I would, if people go, well, what if Tyrese is out for the rest of the series? I wouldn't say it's 100% chance that the Thunder win this series still, because I know what this team's made of. And while their chances wouldn't be good, I wouldn't put it at 0. I really wouldn't. It just, the way that this team, and they've gotten this far, they're not just going to lay down. They're not. Like, they will come out and fight. And you'll see that in game 6, no matter who's playing. So I'm interested to see what happens in game 6. I don't know what happens with Tyrese Haliburton. I want him to be safe. Whatever that means, right? If he decides to sit, I don't blame him. If he decides to play, I don't blame him. But, it's going to suck if we come on here in the next episode and go, well, Tyrese Haliburton now has a torn Achilles. How do we move forward? So I don't know. It's tough. The Thunder defense. So this is what I'm going to talk about, right? This is why I think the Pacers at least push it to 6 still. Honestly, I'm picking the Pacers in game 6, no matter who's playing. I really do. I've got weird confidence in game 6. I don't believe that this team is going to be okay with the Thunder celebrating on their floor, no matter who's in the game. I really do have, for some reason, a confidence level that they will get to game 7. But whatever happens in game 7 happens in game 7. I just do. I don't know why. I've not ever really felt more confident in a game than this game right here. Like, game 4, I actually felt really confident about. Game 5, not so much, because OKC couldn't afford to lose that game. But game 6, going back to Gainbridge, even without Tyrese Haliburton, this team's going to come out and smack you. Like, they're going to be like, no, not on our floor. Nope, not doing this again, because we did this against the Celtics, and this wasn't fun. We watched them celebrate. So I do. I've got a weird feeling the Pacers will win game 6. Now, game 7, I would lean towards the Thunder just because of how awful Indiana's been in OKC. But we'll see. Crazy things happen. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the defense versus their home numbers versus their away numbers. So give me a little. I forgot to pull this up right away, so I'm going to pull this up now. But again, as we talk, I'm really interested to see what decisions made, because, again, who do you put in the starting lineup? And we'll talk about that a little bit coming up, because I feel like there's a lot of different choices without Tyrese Haliburton that you could use in this game. And I think there's a lot of different options. I don't know which one Rick would lean more toward. I've got some hunches of who he's going to lean towards. If Tyrese can't go, who he'll start. But again, Rick's very good about keeping rotations intact. So I don't really know if he's going to deploy Mathurin or Toppin or Shepard. So we'll find out. But here we go. I'm pulled up the stats. I've pulled up these stats now. So these are their road games, and this is on defense, because I want to talk about OKC's defense on the road versus at home, because they are different. it's worth talking about. It's worth noting. And we've talked about this some in the last one. So their team defense at home, the Thunder have won 10 games at home, 2 games have lost. They lost a game against Denver. They lost a game against the Pacers. Their defensive rating at home is 100.2. Opponent points off of turnovers, 10.4. Opponent points, second chance, 14. Opponent's fast break, 9.3. Opponent's paint, 40.8. If you look at their road defense, on the road, the Thunder are 5-4. They are a 113.5 defensive rating. Again, that's compared to a 100.2. So it's a 13.3 net rating in the wrong direction if you go to their road numbers. So this team will let you score when you're playing on your home floor. This team is not as good defensively on the road as they are at home. They don't rebound it as well. It's about a 4 rebound difference. Their steals drop by like 2. Opponent points off turnovers, 16 on the road, 16 second chance points, 10 on the fast break, 40 in the paint. So again, all trending in the wrong direction. If you're a Thunder fan, looking at their defense and how different it is drastically different, which, I mean, it kind of speaks to the fact that, like, yes, they are a historic defensive team, but they are not a historic team when they play on the road. They are a good team, a very good team. That's what they are. They've got really good players. They've got 2 very good players. Chet's not been really that good in this series, but J-Dub and SGA have been great. Caruso's been good. Dort's been great. But yeah, I mean, so if you're feeling down about the Thunder defense just taking control, and they're going to come out with crazy intensity. Like, they know what's at stake. They know they just got to win more and more game. And they'd love to do it at Bankers Life. There I go again. Gainbridge, right? Has been Bankers forever. You know what they want to do on Gainbridge Fieldhouse floor. They want to celebrate a title. Now, they would love to celebrate it at home, but obviously, if they have to celebrate at home, that means it went to a Game 7, and that's not what they want. They want to do it now. They want to end this now, put the Pacers out of misery. But again, I think the Pacers will score fine against this defense. I think that they'll be better. I think that off that Game 4 disappointment, I think there's a lot of things trending towards the Pacers are just going to come out and they're just going to be, you cannot beat us. You will not put us down at home. Not again. Not after last time. Not what we let down our fans last time. Like, I just feel like there's a lot going even without Tyrese. And I do. Again, that could change. Here's the thing. Like, Tyrese goes out there and blows out an Achilles. That's going to change. That's going to change the environment. So I don't know. Even if he goes down hurt, I mean, I don't know. It's so tough. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to break that down or analyze it. I don't think it's really that fair to do so. But if you're looking at Game 5 takeaways, things that they can't do to win Game 6 that they've got to do in Game 6 that they didn't do in Game 5, you've got to take care of the basketball. You cannot turn the ball over against this team. The more turnovers, the more chances they have to do things like what J-Dub and SGA have done. And J-Dub's going to come out and he's going to be on a heater, and you just don't want that. Their role players, I don't think, will shoot it as well as they did at home. So I think you've got that advantage. I think you take away the fact that, like, you've got to be able to stop J-Dub some. You can't let him and SGA go for 70 again. That's just not sustainable. You cannot beat a team like that. So you've got to knock one of them down a little bit. And they've defended SGA pretty well. And Nembhard's done really well against SGA on at Gainbridge, except for that one quarter where he went off. But even then, like, it took until the fourth quarter for him to finally get scoring going because he really was struggling quite a bit at Gainbridge. So, again, I think you've got some takeaways there. You got to be better defensively, too. I felt like they got too many easy baskets. It was probably the worst defensive game the Pacers had all series was Game 5. I mean, I just felt like even when they went on these runs, I was like, just stop them. Like, gosh, like, you're never going to be able to get back in this game unless you stop them. They finally get some stops, but, like, not enough. I mean, they get back into it, and then they just stepped on the gas and went like 14 or like 15-4 run or something like that, and it was over. So I feel like if you're the Pacers, you've got to play better defense. You've got to take care of the basketball. You've got to rebound the basketball, and those will set you up for the best spot. The next point on my rundown, and again, if you're not watching on YouTube, I do a rundown over there. The next point on the rundown is, are the Pacers done? Again, I don't think so. I think they do push this to Game 7. Just, I don't know. I've got a weird confidence about this game. I just don't feel like the Pacers are going to be okay with them celebrating on their home floor. So no matter who's playing, I just think that they're going to get a really good game from Indiana. So I don't think they're done yet. But if I had to pick like a percentage, I mean, I'd say OKC's got a 90-some% chance to win this series still. And it really does boil down to Haliburton not being completely healthy, and do you have enough to win 2 games? And that's my Game 6 preview. Game 6 preview, you've got to, the keys to the game, again, operating with or without Tyrese. You've got to somehow figure out a way to play without him. And that's something that they did throughout practice today. Rick said was they've got a game plan with him. They've got a game plan without him. And we'll see what that is. Is that a bunch of Andrew Nembhard? Like, I think you're going to see a really good Andrew Nembhard game finally, but it might be because he's forced to do so. I think I wouldn't be shocked if you see like an Andrew Nembhard at point guard and Tyrese kind of just floating around out there. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not put that past Rick. And who knows, like that. I mean, I know Nembhard's turned the ball over more, but sometimes with Andrew, like Drew will get to the paint. The dude will get to the paint. So maybe it's better that we have Tyrese out there floating in the corners. I don't know. Like, if you're going to play Tyrese, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe don't rely on him with the ball. Nothing wrong with that. If you win games like that, if this is how you win games against OKC, by letting somebody else handle the basketball, I'm sure Tyrese would be fine with that, especially with the way he's feeling. I mean, we never really tried it, right? I mean, we tried it some, but and Nembhard's gotten a little dicey at points, but he's a point guard by nature. And man, look at what he did against the Celtics. Honestly, it might just be that. It might be like, all right, let's turn Nembhard loose and Ben loose when they're in, and Tyrese, you play as a 2 guard because you can't really explode like a point guard would. I don't know. Maybe that's an adjustment they can make. I'd be interested to see what that looked like. But like I said, the next point, Ben, Drew, and Pascal unleashed. You just score. I think you gotta, right? I think you gotta just say, hey, go get yours. This is it. This is do or die. And I think you'll see that from the guys. Pace. I think you can still run this team. I think you can still run this defense. Their defense is better when they can set it up. If you just run, they can't set it up. So however you can get pace into this game, even when it's at a dead ball, if you can get guys running around where they can't set their feet and can't get into their coverages, then I think you cause more of a problem for this defense. I don't think it would be much of an issue at home because they've done well with that. Last key is, like I said, I mentioned this in the takeaways, you got to find something for J-Dub, whether that's Pascal for some of the possessions. Like there's 35% or 40% Pascal on J-Dub, and the other ones are, Ben or whoever it might be. I don't know. But I think you got to do something because he's just having his way with Aaron Nesmith. He is. There's not much challenge coming from Aaron on that. And just some final thoughts. This has been a great season. I think it, no matter what happens in Game 6, if it gets to a Game 7, I think the biggest thing to realize is that this has been the best season that we've, unless you watch the ABA days and put a lot of stock in the ABA, this is the best season that any Pacers team has ever had as far as the run they've been on. To get all the way to the NBA Finals, to be 12 minutes away from a 3-1 lead, we will always look back at that as kind of like something that people always talk about this right now, about how that's going to haunt us. And it will. But I think to get yourself out of that mindset, think about it like this. You were 12 minutes away from a 3-1 lead on the best team that's played in the NBA regular season for decades. you pushed a series to 6 games at least with a team that people thought were going to beat us in 5 or even sweep us. You have put yourself on a map where I think there's a lot of guys that are going to want to play with this team going forward. And I think that this is going to have a bigger impact. And I know people say this all the time, and I know that I'm crazy to think this far ahead, but I do believe that this team can get back here. I do. Whether that's next year or the years following, like I do believe that with Tyrese Haliburton, anything's possible. A healthy Tyrese, because I do. I think the Pacers can make moves. I think that they've got a good core, even if they stuck with this core for another year. They've got the pieces to do it, and in the Eastern Conference is wide open. Like I would say that they're 1 and 2 as far as with Cleveland, maybe, of who can win this conference. The Magic made a really good move, I thought. The Knicks will be good. Pistons will be good, but I think the Pacers are better than them. I would say with the Cavs healthy, and if the Cavs add another good piece, like the Cavs are right there with the Pacers. I think the Pacers still have the advantage with depth, but and Donovan's getting older, right? So, there's that. But I still feel like this team is a favorite to win the East next year too. I'm not saying that can happen because injuries are going to happen and crazy things happen, right? But I understand where you come from when you say, well, this might be your only time that you ever get to the finals. And it's true for a lot of guys. But also, you got to be pretty positive about their chances in the years coming, just to be contenders for any title. They might not always get there, and they might not get there again, but it does feel like that they've got a good opportunity here for the next couple of years to do so. It's a bummer, right? Thinking about what it could have been. Like, we could be sitting here today talking about the Pacers have a chance to close out and win their first NBA title at home with a healthy Tyrese, or somewhat healthy Tyrese, but now we're talking about what it could mean if he gets hurt. Should he play? Shouldn't he play? Like, that's just feels like that's all that's been consuming my time reading about the Pacers. When it would have been much better just reading about the fact of, like, do the Pacers have a chance to even this back up, to push it to Game 7? Because a lot of people thought so. If Tyrese is healthy, a lot of people thought, oh yeah, they'll this is a 7-game series waiting to happen. But now you've got that doubt. So, thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. It's been a fun ride. I'm hoping it's not over. I hope we get to do this again after Game 6 and talk about Game 7. But again, if we don't, the Thunder deserve it. They are a very good team. They deserve to be here. They've done what they needed to do. And to bring their first NBA title to that city would be amazing for them. And we'd be sad for us, but I think, this is better than LA getting another one, or Boston, or whoever. The Boston fans have been very nice to us, but hey, go on, share the wealth. Give somebody else a chance. And that's what the Thunder have done. So for a team that's also been in really dark times and then pulling themselves out of it, they've actually had more success than a lot of other teams because they've had MVPs on their teams with Harden and Durant and Shea and all. I mean, it feels like they just replenish. But this is the first time they've had a chance to win a title. So kudos to them. They're a great team. They'll be a great team for a very long time, it seems. So it'll be fun. They could be a rival for a very long time. Hey, how about a Christmas Day? I don't want them to play on Christmas Day, but we should get a primetime game against OKC at some point next season. So that'll be fun. Yeah, thanks for listening, though. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate the support so far. Like, subscribe, comment, rate 5 stars if you're over on Apple or Spotify or anywhere you find your podcast that you can rate us. Leave a comment. A review helps people find us. Share your thoughts with us over on YouTube. You can share the video with friends. Hope to grow this community. Like I said, we're always looking for co-hosts. So if you're interested in that aspect, want to join me in the off season, we can start talking Pacers and we can ramp up into next season. I'm also doing the Fever, covering the Fever. So if you want to jump on the Fever side of it, or if you want to co-host with me, both, then I am always more than happy to do that. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.